Welcome to the Live Full, Work Fun podcast. This is the show to encourage you to live your life to the fullest and do fun work that fuels your lifestyle. Hi, I'm your host, Gayla Scrivener. Every week, you'll be introduced to amazing guests, useful resources, and inspirational stories. You'll discover opportunities and perspectives to shape your version of living full and working fun. Hi there and welcome. This is the show where we explore topics to help you create a lifestyle to live full and work fun. I'm Gayla Scrivener, joined with my co-host, Fran Groesbeck. Hi, Fran.
Hey, Gayla.
You know, we have been talking a lot, have been having several meetings, and this topic keeps bubbling up, this word, simplify. Whether it's between you and me, between our clients, we have been really on this kick of simplifying, and that has been been freeing. I don't know about you, but for me, it has been freeing. And I thought today we could be talking about ways to simplify your business, your life, that you can let go of some things, because quite frankly, I think that we make things more complicated for ourselves.
I agree.
Do you have any examples of whether personal or professional that you took a step back recently and you're just like, whoa, I'm making this way too complicated?
Oh my gosh, yes. And it just happened. Gayla, so you know, we've been talking about this. I'm rebranding. I see what 10 Touch Creative really is, and I'm working on this new plan. I have been stuck, and I'm going to admit it right here because we all go through this. I've been stuck on getting this one next main component of this new program together and launched and put together. And it just hit me as we're talking and planning for this topic of simplification. I was overcomplicating it. I just have to do what we do best. And we talk about this a lot. It's easy to do it for others. Sometimes it's not so easy to do it for yourself. But hearing this, I took this literal step back in my mind and I went, you're overcomplicating this. You know what the end goal is. Break it down into small, simple steps. It's what you do for others. Do it for this program. And all of a sudden, I see the steps, and they're the same steps that were there before I had this visualization. They've always been there, but I wasn't keeping it simple. I was only focused on the vision. I wasn't focused on what I do for others, which is taking that step back and looking at what's it going to take to get there. I used the analogy of putting a shelf on the wall, and what's that first step is finding the ruler. I see the ruler now, and it's that word that you just said, freeing. My mind is on overdrive now, which is a red flag for me too. I have to go slow down. And what are those steps? So my next step is to map out the simple steps to get to the bigger step. And what simplification does, in sharing this story, something comes to mind. We've talked about this before. I love to say that what we do helps people break the cycle of fear, frustration, worry, repeat, right? Simplification is the first step to that. Because fear, frustration, worry, repeat are stories we tell ourselves. They're not real. They're imagined stories. So we have this end goal in mind. And oftentimes it feels really good to think about it. And then often the next step is, oh my gosh, how am I going to get there? And we let fear and worry make a list of things. Oh, it's going to be too hard. We can't get there. You make it simple, chunk out those simple steps all of a sudden, and take a little step each day, commit to doing the process, even if it's 5 minutes, 30 minutes, 10 minutes, doesn't matter. But you do something each day to move those simple steps forward. You're going to look back in a very short amount of time, realize how far you got on that goal. So this topic of simple, and it applies to everything, is a key. It's a really big key. And it's also the antidote to something our generation was raised on. And I think it's still prevalent out there, which is that busyness is a badge of honor. And it's not. It's not. Simple should be the badge of honor.
Well, Have you ever read James Clear Atomic Habits?
Yes.
Okay, so I will put a link in the show notes to that. So if you haven't, listener, if you have not read that, I highly recommend. But the simplicity, as you were talking, friend, that's what popped into my mind. We're creating these tiny habits, these atomic little habits that will grow into bigger things. And I'm going to give a couple of examples of some things in my personal life recently that I have done to simplify. First of all, downgrading my clothes. I mean, clearing out clothes. And when we travel in our converted ambulance named Clifford, there's only so much space, right? So, and I know being out in nature, I just need certain clothes. I need some warm, I need some to layer, and I need some for hot weather. And I just get the same thing. I have a pack of the same type of socks. I have same leggings. I have the same style of shorts, not very many of each, and just get rid of everything else. I don't have to make so many choices of what the heck am I going to wear. I simplified. I think a lot of people, I'm trying to think of Fran, who's the head of Apple that owned Steve Jobs only wore like
Black turtlenecks and
black
black.
turtleneck and then the jeans, and that was it. And
Yeah.
he never had to make a decision about his clothes. I'm not that far. I like a little bit of different colors, but it's simplified. My diet right now is very simplified, and I don't really choose what to eat. And yeah, it's kind of boring right now, but I have some weight loss goals, and a little bit at a time works great. So I'm concentrating on no carbs, no sugar, and more protein and fats. And that has worked great. And the decision making process. So when we complicate things, it makes things that we're trying to make more decisions. If we simplify and let it go, then things seem a little bit easier.
You just said the key words, Gayla, and they came just popping out at me as you said it, little bit at a time. That's what simplification is. And you made me think of, I am a bit of a neat freak. Ask my family, if you put a glass out and I don't see an owner around, it will be cleaned up even if it's half full. And then they'll come in and go, Mom, where's my glass? I'm not so bad that I'm like OCD or anything. No offense to anyone who has OCD. I love you all, but I do like things neat. So I go through 2 cycles a year of cleaning and purging my house, not just clothes, but like everything. And I go through every closet, every drawer, and say, do I still need this? What needs to go? I used to make myself absolutely nuts and try to do it all in one weekend. No joke, my entire house, top to bottom. I now make it a spring and a fall activity. It does not have to just happen on weekends. I see a drawer that needs to be organized. I do it right then and there when I see it. The next day, I might do something else. There might be a day I do nothing, but I keep it moving and I don't have these lines and guidelines that are unbreakable on when and how I do it. I do it as I can. Oh, this weekend, the weather's shifting. I do want to clean out my clothes. So I'm going to, and that might take a couple of days or processes to go through, but it's that little bit at a time that makes it realistic. And when you do a little bit at a time, and I'm sure you see that with your journey with food, I'm on a similar journey with fuel and movement, I call it. When you go a little bit at a time, you learn more because little bit at a time means that you have more stillness, I'm going to call it, in your life. You have these moments where it's not all these thoughts coming at you. There's this, okay, a little bit at a time. What am I doing right now? And you're more open to what is the real next step. If you're just swimming in the to-do list and you're making 15 million lists of what you think needs to be done, you're not seeing that first step. And that what's that next little bit that needs to happen? I really love that, Gayla. A little bit at a time. And baby steps we talk about, right? Baby steps. What's that first little baby step you could take? A child doesn't learn to run a marathon when it first takes its first steps. We call it baby steps for a reason, right? Those first steps are wobbly. Sometimes they got to hold on to something. Sometimes they need mommy's hand to keep walking or daddy's hand. What are those baby steps? And do you need someone to help you on that process? Do you need a Gayla or a Fran to help you in your business? Or do you need an accountability coach in your own personal life to say, hey, that friend that keeps you in check?
Well, you said, stuff complicates things or weights you down. And so your process is to purge and organize on a regular basis. And I think I know living in a small space, I have grown accustomed to that, and I long for our trips, and I long to be in Clifford traveling, not only for the experiences, but I like the simplicity of doing without a lot of stuff. And I think that sometimes when we're doing our processes, whether it's personal or professional, some of those steps become too complicated. So we're talking about chunking it down and building up, but then there's an evaluation period of, hey, am I going through all the steps that I should be, or should I cut out some of these steps? And we had worked on something together very recently where we were talking about simplifying a proposal type process. Now I've read books, I've listened to podcasts, I've worked with folks on pricing structures. How should you do this? And when I first started, I I did it one way, and I thought because I'm in a business, I need to have this formal proposal process, and then I got to where it's like, this seems too complicated for what I really do. And really, going one step backwards, it was when I first started my business, I wanted to please everybody. So I did whatever you needed me to do. Yeah, I can do that in business administration type thing. And then we got into more and more marketing. So simplifying what products we offer is a big deal. And that you hear it, niche down. So that when you hear those terms, niche down and get your product ladder, narrow, that's simplifying. It's kind of scary because you think, I've got to get this really big net. But once you simplify, so we both have simplified because we've gone on this pendulum in our own journey. So we've simplified what services we're giving to others. And therefore, what about our proposal process? Should it be this 20-page document for $1,000? No, no. When you meet, and we were consulting with someone, so you evaluate what is it that they need. And I know, and I don't want to speak for you, but with your particular proposal, you have the project would have been really, really, really big. And when we were talking, you were over on the total end of the project, and was like, this is a big project. But when you and I talked, it was like, really, the first step is this littler package.
It's tremendous though, also having that those partners and friends to have a sounding board. And you and I came together through a client, but our friendship and our partnership and how we help each other has evolved in the way that I can't stress to people enough. It doesn't have to be a networking group of 50 people. Have that person that you can bounce ideas off of and talk through ideas. And in that moment, that end scope of this project was so overwhelming, so massive. And when we had that conversation and you freed me of the pressure of these 90-page proposals, the other thing it helped me see is be me. those 90-page proposals with all those terms and things like that. Now that's good. And you need that in certain businesses. There's certain businesses and times, but for this project and this first step, I needed to just share with them what I could do, why it benefits them to do this first step, and what they'll come out from this first step getting from it. And I spoke as me in a clear and simple terms. And it was funny when you do it right. The first email back was absolutely, and they appreciated that this first step would be done, which in the end will save them a lot of time and money in the end goal of this project. And Gail, I will tell you just one other thing that came to mind when you were talking. It's one of the reasons we started that we have Now Next and Future. Now Next and Future is our way to keep things simple for ourselves as well as our clients. The now are the simple steps, those little bits that need to happen. Next are connected to the now. You have to do the now to get to the next. Future for me was created because my brain goes off in all these tangents, just like I did on this project, right? What future allows me to do is record those ideas and revisit them. Just like we talked about in content library, you go back in that library and see if the images and messages still apply. I will go revisit that future, whether it be for my own company or for the project, and see if it still applies. And a lot of times I find that the future ideas either were something I was going off on the wrong tangent, or it evolves into something else. I have most of the future ideas usually evolve or change. So it proves to me that they should have been sitting in future. And I need to get to those little bits in the now first. But
Well,
yeah,
and how you were framing that now, next, and future in the proposal part, we both had really did a deep dive of what services we offer and framing them in a different way, at least in our mind, to clarify to ourselves and to our clients really what is it we do and in what stages of their business that it might be the best fit. And that simplified proposal in the now bucket, because it evolved from a simplified product offering for consulting for making that plan, really taking a deep dive of that particular project and making a good solid plan to go to the next step. What's in the next bucket could be formulated into a template, right? And so the more you do that, but it helped with simplifying what it is we offer, simplifying the delivery of that proposal in the now, so that we could get it done instead of painfully think, I need a template for this. I don't have one, so I'm going to spend a week trying to get this one proposal out, and you miss the opportunity.
Gayla, 100%. And what you just said is so tied to one of the obstacles we all put in front of ourselves as business owners, is waiting for that right, perfect moment or piece of the puzzle to be there. Yes, one day soon with this new program, I will have templates, I will have processes, I will have things that my team can just come in and take over. They do that now with the existing services that I offer, but for these new things, I just have to get it started, and it will evolve. And if it's not perfect, that's okay. It's okay not to be perfect. And I think we all have to say that, not just as women, but all human beings. We think it has to be exactly right at the exactly right time. And there'll be this perfect moment that comes and everything will just come together and click. And there it is, the perfect template for a proposal. It's not how it works. And I could have missed out on a great opportunity if I didn't have that nudge, push from our conversation to just get it started and what was funny, when I wrote the email, it flowed right out of me because I know what I do and I know what I needed to say to them. I didn't need some template or some service. First thing I did before I talked to you is I started Googling, because this was a new part of my program. My first thought was, I need a proposal writing software service. No, I don't. I need me. I needed to tell them why they needed to do this first step and why it was important to them and how it would help them in the long run of the overall project, which I can see the end overall project, but I was jumping there first. And these first steps, and in that proposal writing, any first step in your business that you take, and we take first steps all the time, whether you're in business a year or 10 years or 20 years, there's always something new you're doing. Just start. Just start.
Just start. And I am sure if there is an attorney listening, they're just cringing. You've got to have these things. And yes, you do need things in our business and contracts and things like that. I'm not discouraging that, but how can you simplify? And what is it that you can do in your process that if there's a problem in your business that you need solved, do you need to hire someone? Do you need to do the research to do it yourself? But just keep it simple. Keep it simple. Don't have 15 zillion templates on things. But there are things in my processes that I do to help clients with their workflow to kind of keep things simple using certain automation tools. Well, first of all, automation does not work really until you have like a process that how you want to do things. So planning is important on that. And I think our listeners have heard this a ton from us. Planning is important, but simplifying things, because over time things get a little mucky. And one thing at a time, you could simplify. You can question why. Why am I doing this? And is there an easier way?
You
Right?
make me my Asana.
Yes, right. And I had, well, I'm working on a project, well, more than one project of website refresh or redo. And each of those clients of mine that were doing their website redo, it starts with clarifying their message, which is code for simplify your message. Because when you look at really telling that story of who you are, what you do, how you solve other people's problems, and I'm going to go step back real quick on what you were saying with your proposal process, just be me. I mean, we are humans serving other humans, and we are helping solve a problem, no matter what we're doing. What if we're in business or not? We work for someone else. We are solving somebody else's problem because we have that skill to do that. And so, jumping back into this website refresh or redo, these businesses that are working with, and I'm doing it for myself too, been in business for a while, and over time their website just got messy, or they've shifted in their messaging. They needed to go through in my case, the story branding process. You have a different process that you do. What is that?
So purpose, promise, and principles.
So we create the story of the who, what, when, where, how, and we clarify, get that message clear. Because as Donald Miller always says in the story brand community, when you confuse, you lose, right? So when you come to a website and it's complicated and you don't understand immediately, can you solve my problem? You're going to go somewhere else. So simplifying messaging is really important, which is super hard because sometimes you want to over explain yourself, right? And tell this back history and all of this. So distilling down message to simplify is not an easy feat. It is, it sometimes can be very hard. But as far as these projects that I'm doing on the website, each of these clients have really extensive content, a content library, and we're simplifying. Like one of my clients has on her blog like a cajillion categories, and tags and all of this. And so there was some confusion on utilizing categories and tags on her blog. And we're simplifying things so that there's fewer categories. And then we utilize the tag area in a different way for her. So when you look at her blog and the end users researching what she does, right? Because they want information. They want that authority piece. How do I do this? Because I'm going to her because she knows what she's talking about. And they can look at that library in a more simplified manner so they don't have to think so much. Because when we burn so many calories trying to figure out something, what happens? We leave or we get frustrated. We just throw our hands up, you know. We get confused, and we don't want to do that for folks that we want to work with. We want them to know immediately, hey, you're the one that can solve my problem, and I'm either going to consume your free content, working my way up to maybe working more closely with you. And I think that simplifying is super important on that. But I'm going to say with the caveat, you get into your plan, you simplify, and then you get into your plan on producing more content. And you do that in a way for a period of time. It might get messy again. And you might have to step back and say, how do I simplify? Am I doing too many steps? Why? I mean, I love it when my staff talks to me. He's like, do we need to do all of these steps? Because you get into a process and you add things into it to improve, but then you might want to step back. It's like, is this relevant anymore?
We use the question when we're working on a project and we're doing the team review, is it necessary? Is it necessary for the end goal, or is this a future idea? Is this good? Do we park this? Okay, it's a good idea, but it's not necessary to get where we're going. So we use that as our little red flag check.
One last question that I have for you, Fran. What is that emotion that comes out when you simplify?
It's a combination of like joy and peace, feeling like I'm just being truly myself and staying focused, and it's like a clearing. It's like you used the word freeing before. It's very like some weight has fallen off and I am seeing clearly again. And it's just real peace. It's like this. I always talk about a spectrum of emotion. You can be on one end or kind of, and you want to stay in that middle. You don't want to go to either extreme. I feel like simplification brings me back to that middle. And it's this relief. Like, okay, good. I'm clear again. Let's keep going.
I agree. For me, it is this sign of relief, this sigh, this release of weight on me, and just being real, and being real and genuine. And I think that is important because, like I said, we are humans serving other humans. I don't care if you say, oh, wait, I'm B2B. You're talking to a human being. So this is in the business of humans serving other humans to find our place in society, to show, contribute to the society and make it a better place. So freeing myself of complication, less decisions that I have to make, less steps maybe. It streamlines and just makes me happier. It brings me more joy just to feel like I'm me and I don't have to be anybody else but me. So I love that. Well, I would love to hear from you guys out there listening. Why don't you hop in to Facebook, go to the Live Full Work Fun group, and drop your comments. What have you simplified in your life recently? Or what seems so overwhelming for you right now? And get some ideas. Ask for some ideas on how to simplify. I'd love to hear from you in the Live Full Work Fun Facebook group. It's been wonderful, and I'm going to simply say, have a fantastic week, live full, work fun. This episode has been brought to you by Scrivener Social, the easy-to-use social scheduling platform built for the busy solopreneur. You deserve a system that makes posting to your social media faster and more efficient. Go to scrivenersocial.com and subscribe today.